Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to this presentation on the Year 9 options process. Can I start with making two apologies? First of all, I'm really sorry that we haven't been able to meet in person to go through all of this in the way that I would normally do. Clearly, everything this year is happening slightly differently, but I hope that the information that you get in this presentation, together with the presentations from heads of department and the options booklet, will give you all of the information that you need to support your children in making choices ready for Key Stage 4. My second apology is about my first video that appeared on the website. Thank you to those parents who let me know that the sound quality was so bad that you couldn't hear what I was saying. I've decided to do it slightly differently this time as a narrated PowerPoint in the hope that the sound quality will be better this time around. So, to begin with, I just want to start with a reminder about Show My Homework. Show My Homework is the app that we use to support students in keeping on top of their homework. And you can have a parent account as well, which will tell you what homework your child has been set and when it's due, and will send you a little alert to your phone every time something is due in or has been completed. So it's a really easy way of staying on top of what your child has to complete. If you haven't got a parental login yet, please do contact me after you've listened to this presentation and I'll send one to you. If we can establish really good habits now in Year 9, it will make the transition for all of our Year 9 students into GCSE so much easier. When they start Key Stage 4, they will find that they get more homework with shorter deadlines, so being able to manage time becomes much more significant. On to the options process then, and I want to start by going through some of the sort of bigger picture stuff about what's happened nationally, which guides the provision that we make for Key Stage 4. So from a national perspective, students now have to stay in education or training until they're 18. 16 used to be a stepping off point where young people could leave education and go out to work. That's not the case anymore. They either stay in school or college or on an apprenticeship until they are 18 years old. So Key Stage 4 really now is just a stepping stone towards the next stage in their education or training. Students are expected to continue to study both English language and maths until they achieve at least a level 4 at GCSE. This means if they don't get the level 4 at the end of Year 11, whichever route they take, school, college or apprenticeship, they will still have to continue to study those subjects until they have passed a level 4 or until they've left full-time education at the age of 18. That means we put a lot of effort into making sure that as many as possible get that level 4 the first time around, and my advice to students is always to really concentrate on that English and maths so that you haven't got that hanging over you in the sixth form or at college or as part of your apprenticeship. Vocational qualifications that are offered nationally, for example OCR Nationals or BTEC Technicals, have become far more rigorous and have really been brought into line with GCSEs now. I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in terms of the course content and the way that they are assessed a little bit later on in this presentation. Overall, there are fewer GCSE and vocational courses available nationally. The DfE wanted to reduce course content and overlap, and so the choice is more limited than it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. GCSEs then have changed in their content, their assessment methodology and their grading. You may well already be aware that GCSEs are now graded 9 to 1, with 9 being the highest grade, and that the content has become far more challenging. There is a higher number of marks awarded for technical accuracy in spelling, punctuation and grammar. This can, in some cases, literally mean the difference between one grade and the next, so that accuracy becomes very important. Many subjects no longer have any element of controlled assessment and are completely assessed by terminal exam at the end of year 11. Others, in practical subjects such as dance and design technology, have retained their controlled assessment content, but the weighting it carries has been significantly reduced. This diagram shows you the equivalence of the new 9-to-1 GCSE grades to the old A star to G version, and you can see that a pass now at GCSE is considered to be a grade 4, and the Department for Education consider a good pass to be a grade 5 or above, and you can see from where the grade 5 sits that that's actually the top end of an old money C grade, not the bottom end of a C grade. So the standard for a good pass has risen, and you can see that the new 9 grade is higher than the old A star grade. So a 7 is the equivalent of an A grade, an 8 would be the top of an A and the bottom of an A star, and a 9 is above the A star grade. So you can see from this that the standards have risen, and the requirements have risen in terms of what students need to come out at the other end with really good exam results. So here at Nobel we offer 2 different sets of qualifications. We offer our GCSEs, which have exams for all subjects. Between 60% and 100% of the overall marks are awarded on exams. They pretty much all have more than one exam paper, and they're all taken at the end of year 11. So the controlled assessment exists for some subjects, the practical ones, as I've said, and generally that's a maximum, of 40% of the overall marks. And all of that controlled assessment has to take place under supervision in school. They can't take any of that home. And the grades that are awarded are between grade 9 at the top and 1 at the bottom. Then we offer our OCR Cambridge Nationals and BTEC technical vocational qualifications. These do all have one exam for each subject, usually worth 25% of the overall marks. The key difference here is that this exam can be taken at any point in the course, so the class teacher decides when the students are ready to sit that exam, and it can be taken more than once to ensure students get the best grade that they can. This is important because it takes quite a lot of pressure off of some of our students at the end of year 11, when there are an awful lot of written exams, to have one under your belt already and to know that in that subject you haven't got any further exams can sometimes be really quite reassuring. So the OCR Cambridge Nationals and BTEC Technicals all have controlled assessment. 3 of their 4 units are assessed in this way, and again work can be resubmitted once if it doesn't reach the required standard the first time around. These qualifications are graded between a distinction star at the top and a level 1 pass at the bottom. This diagram just shows you the equivalence of those BTEC and Cambridge National qualifications against those 9-to-1 grades. So you can see that a distinction star in a BTEC technical will give you the same value as a grade 8 or 9 at GCSE. All of our qualifications are nationally recognised by colleges of further education and by employers. So really the decision is about which route is right for the individual student, because the grades at the end are completely comparable. So on to what's actually in the Key Stage 4 curriculum for students, and I'll start with what is absolutely core. All students study the following. They study English Language and Literature GCSEs, they study Maths GCSE, and they study Science GCSEs. Most students will study for 2 GCSEs in Science, studying units in Chemistry, Biology and Physics, but coming out at the end with 2 GCSE grades worth of Science qualification. For some students, they will be offered the opportunity to take what we call triple science. It's a bit of a misnomer really, because both sets of subjects study all 3 science subjects. But triple science gives you 3 GCSEs worth of qualification at the end of it. You take additional work in biology, chemistry and physics and sit slightly longer exams as a result of that. If students choose to take triple science GCSE, first of all, they need to have reached the required standard in year 9 for science department to feel that they will cope well with the course. Secondly, they need to bear in mind that that will take one of their option subjects out of the equation, because they will have their core science time, which everybody has for the 2 GCSE award, and then one option block will be taken up with the triple science time. So that's 15 hours of science across a 50 period fortnight. You do have to really love science to want to do that, and lots of our students do. Everybody takes a GCSE in either a humanities subject, that's history or geography, or a language or computing, depending on what's offered on their pathway. Everybody takes an RE course to GCSE, which is a philosophy and ethics course. Everybody studies core PE, which is 3 hours a fortnight of exercise and sport. And everybody studies 1 hour a fortnight of personal social health education, which incorporates citizenship and sex and relationships education. There is no qualification in the core PE or the PSHE. Then here at Nobel we offer 5 different pathways, all named after colours, which help students to be guided towards the subjects they are most likely to be successful in. The different pathways offer a range of different subjects. Some are in every pathway, while some subjects are only available in 1 or 2. We've designed the pathways to help students to get the greatest number of the best possible grades they can, in order to give them access to as many post-16 options as possible. Remember, I said at the start that GCSE is no longer that stepping off point in terms of education. It's a stepping stone to the next stage of a child's education or training. So the way that a student's pathway is determined is by looking at their estimated GCSE targets based on Key Stage 2 data. Their progress in Key Stage 3, although I have to say this year, because of lockdown last summer, I've taken less account of progress over Key Stage 3 than I might have done in previous years. Their cognitive abilities test scores, these are tests that they sit in Year 7 when they first join us. And their reading scores, which is a test that is done annually with all our students. I also discuss student profiles with the directors of faculty and with the head of year to try to check that the right courses are available to the right students. However, the pathways process is not an exact science, and one size does not fit all. This is why the Year 9 options interview is such an important part of our process. During that interview, we go from talking about a coloured pathway to talking about the pathway that is right for that individual student. There is no best pathway, just the pathway that is best for each individual student. So in terms of the number of option subjects students take, effectively most students will have 3 option choices. Some students on the yellow pathway and the purple pathway, if they've chosen triple science, will find that they have 2 additional option subjects in addition to the core. This table just shows the number of hours per fortnight students will have for each subject at Key Stage 4. So I want to talk a little bit now about the timescale for events over the next few weeks. So pathways have now been allocated, and this week the options fair has gone live online, and you should have received options booklets. The options fair I will talk about in a little bit more detail in a minute. Next Wednesday, the 2nd of December, is the Year 9 online consultation evening. This is a really good opportunity to talk to subject teachers about your child's suitability for that subject next year. And then between the 7th and the 18th of December, we aim to meet with every family individually via Teams to make those choices and to provide any further guidance that's needed. So let's talk about the options fair. On the website you will find all the subjects that are offered as choices represented with a short video presentation by the curriculum team leader. These are worth sitting down and watching with your child. Whilst you have the information in the booklet, often it's listening to what the teacher says that helps students to engage with a subject or to decide that a subject really isn't for them. Underneath each of the videos you will find the contact details for the curriculum team leader for this subject. So if you have any specific subject questions, you can please contact the curriculum team leader directly. This is really an opportunity then to consider the choices available and to follow up with any questions you've got, either by emailing the curriculum team leader or by talking to a subject teacher at the Year 9 consultation evening. I think it's particularly useful for those subjects that haven't previously been taught at Key Stage 3, like business studies and psychology and sociology. To help students make their choices, we do a variety of different things and we provide them with a variety of different advice. They've been working through a booklet in form time for the last couple of weeks, guiding them towards how to make choices. And we start with this question: do you enjoy the subject and are you likely to be successful in it? There is a really fine line between motivation by enjoying a subject and knowing that you're going to do well at it. And so the discussion that we have in the options interview around these questions helps us to unpick that and look for the best choices. We know students are going to be more motivated where they enjoy a subject. So that is an important factor in how we come to our decisions. However, we also need to know that they're likely to be successful at it. Some students don't have a clear career objective at this stage, and some do, but for many that will change as they work their way through Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5. So my advice is always to leave your options open and not narrow things down too much. There are very few career paths where there are subjects apart from the core that really need to have been studied at Key Stage 4 in order to go on post 16 and post 19 with that subject area. There are some, and I'll talk about where you can find advice on that in just a moment. We also encourage students to think about what's the best course structure for them. Is it a diet of full GCSEs with all the exams at the end of Year 11, or would they be better advised to take a mixture of GCSEs and some BTEC Technicals or OCR Nationals where the exams are not at the end of the course and there's more coursework element to them? And then the big question is, if they want to do a subject that isn't on their pathway, to talk to subject teachers and find out how they can make better progress this year so that they can move pathway. So in terms of wanting to know about future career options and what might be open to them, we have a system called Unifrog that all of our students have a login for. Unifrog contains information on hundreds of different career paths and ideas of what careers can lead from subjects studied at Key Stage 4 and beyond, and is really a great source of advice. It also provides details of entry requirements, both for different careers and whether apprenticeship routes are available into those careers or whether a degree is required. So just typing in a subject like geography into Unifrog will come up with all sorts of career suggestions for you, and quite often it comes up with job titles that we've never heard of or never considered before, which can really be the start of a journey to something very interesting. Similarly, it gives you career choices that are similar to a pathway that you might have thought was suitable for you, but when you've dug down, you've discovered it's not for you. For example, many students have a desire to be a vet because they like working with animals. And when they type vet into Unifrog, they discover just how long the study at degree level is to become a vet, and just how high the entry requirements are. But alongside vet will come up all sorts of other different opportunities for working with animals, including veterinary nurse, including all sorts of jobs working with large animals and with domestic animals. And they might find alternative career choices there that really do suit them far better. So I would definitely recommend encouraging your children to have a good play around on Unifrog over the next few years. It doesn't all have to be done now, but just sort of keeping an eye on what's out there. So we have a few questions that come up very regularly. The first of those is will I get all of my choices at GCSE? Every year I try really hard to accommodate everybody. We do ask all students to select a reserve choice as well as their 2 or 3 options choices, another subject that they would be happy to study if one of their first choices wasn't available. The reserve choice does help me a little bit with flexibility. Every year we have a few students who might not get all of their choices. Sometimes this is because their combination of subjects can't be timetabled. They might be the only student that's chosen both dance and French, for example, so I've timetabled them both at the same time. There might not be enough students choosing a subject to run it. That's rare, but it does occasionally happen. More common is that too many students choose a subject, but not enough to make us be able to staff another group. So the maximum group size is 30. If I end up with 35 wanting to do a course, that's not enough to run 2 groups, but it does mean I need to slim down the number of people that are on it. If that's the case, the very first thing I do is look at who had chosen that course as their final choice. I ask you on the application form to rank your choices 1, 2 and if relevant 3. So I would start with looking at who had chosen it as a third option, as the least important of their 3 choices. And it would be those students that I would go back to and ask them to consider making new choices. So the order that you put things on your application form is important, and I would really emphasise that the course that you most want to do should be numbered number 1 on your list of priorities. This all takes me quite a bit of time to do. I go back to students and parents. We spend a lot of time then discussing the options that are available. I don't like to rush those decisions. If somebody isn't getting their first choice, then I would prefer that they made an informed choice than a rushed choice at that stage. So this takes me pretty much the whole of the spring term to work through, even though I don't have huge numbers of students that I'm dealing with. Last year it was less than 20 students who didn't get their first choice for one of their subjects, and actually I think it was about 5 students who didn't have their reserve subject fit either. So it's a very small number out of 240. But I am aware that's no consolation if it happens to you. So we give you plenty of time to make other decisions. So the final confirmation letters won't go out probably until May half term of year 9, and that will tell you what your son and daughter will be studying in September. Every year for a few students, things change over the course of year 9. And what had seemed like a good idea in December of year 9, by the time we get to June or July, might not be considered to be the best option for them now. So I can be flexible where there is space in groups, and providing there is a space and providing it's a suitable course, changes can be made during the summer term of year 9. And for a very small number of students every year, when they start courses in September, they discover they've made a mistake and they want to change. So as long as that change is made by the end of September of year 10, then we can make sure that they are on the courses that are going to be most suited to them. Finally, just a few other frequently asked questions. I think I've answered this one already. Only courses that have sufficient numbers will run. To find out about new subjects, have a good look through the virtual options fair, read the options booklet. If your son or daughter knows students already on the courses, speak to them. Email teachers and ask them for advice. Many teachers will also be talking about their subject area in lessons over the coming couple of weeks as well. If you can't make your appointment, your virtual appointment, we'll do our very best to reschedule it for you. But on just a small number of occasions, it may be necessary just to meet with the student if we can't reschedule within the time window. However, if we do that, we will certainly follow it up with a phone call conversation with you. Finally, if you have any other questions at all, please do contact me, Mrs. Rose. There's my email address, and I will do my very best to answer your questions. That's it from me for now. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this. I appreciate it's quite a long presentation to go through. I hope you were able to pause it and get a cup of tea somewhere in the middle. I look forward to meeting lots of you during the Year 9 options interviews over the weeks beginning the 7th of December. And good luck with helping your students to make those right choices to be as successful as possible at Key Stage 4. Thank you. Goodbye.